Today I'm going to be sharing with you a tale. Some may say it is a tale as old as time, while others would probably not say that. That's right, friends. We're going to be talking about My Immortal. So for those of you who don't know what My Immortal is, because up until like a couple of weeks ago I wasn't even familiar with what it is. My Immortal was this fanfiction that was posted to fanfiction.net way back in 2006 and 2007. And the author went by the username XXX Bloody Wrists, and wrists is spelled without a W, I just like to point out. 666XXX. But luckily, we don't have to say that name throughout this whole video because by her audience, she was called Tara Gilsby, or something to that effect, but we will be calling her Tara for most of this video. So in total, My Immortal is 44 chapters long. It is about 22,678 words, and Tara, our author, she wasn't the only person who worked on this project. She had a friend by the name of Raven. Her username was Bloody Tears 666. So to give you a brief summary or just a thesis statement about what this book is about, it's about this girl who has a very subtle name, and her name is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way. Just really rolls off the tongue. She's this gothic girl, and she is also a Satanist, and also a vampire, and also a witch. There's just a lot going on for her. And it details her time at Hogwarts and how she falls in love with Draco Malfoy and how she befriends the main cast of the Harry Potter series. When this story first came out, it began to get some traction from some readers, and this wasn't very good traction, I feel like I would like to point out. Like almost right away, it began to become a meme, basically. I don't really know if memes were like really a thing back in 2006. I wouldn't really know. Speaking that I was around 6 years old when that happened. But quickly after the first couple of chapters were posted, it began to establish itself for not being very well written. There were long stretches where the characters' names would be completely wrong and seemingly the author didn't even notice. For example, Ebony, for a long time in this book, is simply referred to as Ennaby, which is not the same. But there are tons of inconsistencies within the plot of the actual fanfiction, but also in the world of Harry Potter. It was later revealed that the author never even read Harry Potter and that they had just seen like a handful of movies and like thought Draco Malfoy was cute and wanted to write a story about him, which I think is very telling, I think. When there's a really bad written book, there are a couple of things to do. I feel like one of those things is to just not read it, but it's 2006, so you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna read this every single chapter and just subtly make fun of it in the comments. And that's what happened. Tons of people, I'm not even kidding when I say like hundreds of people, maybe even thousands. I'm not exactly sure how many views each chapter was pulling in, but the fact that this fanfiction is still well known and is still so infamous by so many people, I assume that means thousands of people are reading this and making fun of it. But after a time of getting a lot of hate, the author began to do some shady things. One of these things being blackmailing her fans and her readers into giving it good reviews. She saw that so many people were like leaving mean comments or leaving bad reviews or disliking it. I don't really know how the rating system works on fanfiction.net. Believe it or not, I'm not very well versed in that site, but people were giving it bad reviews and making fun of it in the comments. So she used that to her advantage because she saw all these readers and all of these comments, but they weren't good comments. So she started saying, I'm not gonna update this book until I get X amount of reviews, or you guys leave me good reviews or nice comments or I'm not gonna update it again. So she forced these people to give her good reviews. It kind of reminds me of Zenith, basically to push herself further, and it's just like so brilliant, and I honestly think that she's really smart for that. Tara Gilsby, if you watching this, girl, I respect you, honestly. No, I actually don't. But when the book reached around chapter 38, some mysterious things began to happen to this story. These chapters that were often misspelled, or the writing was really cringy, or things just didn't really make sense. Suddenly, things began to make sense. Sentences were more coherent. Character names were spelled correctly. The actual formatting was making more sense and was more cohesive. And a lot of people began to think, maybe maybe Tara took a writing lesson. Maybe all this hate got to her and now she's gonna become a good writer. What are we gonna do? But it turns out that the book got hacked and that somebody wrote a fake chapter that was just making fun of the book, but they made fun of it in a way that was somehow better than the actual writing. So this hacker gets control of her account, and whoever this hacker is, they pen 2 chapters of the book. But then the next chapter rolled around and Tara had got her account back, and she literally wrote in the book a scene where the hacker gets killed off. And so when the book reached around like 40 chapters after she got her account back and after things like that, the climax started to pick up, and she said, guys, there's gonna be a couple of chapters left and we're gonna be done. Then chapter 44 came out, and you know, it was almost the end of this saga. These characters that we had fallen in love with over the course of these 44 chapters were finally going to be meeting their end. And then suddenly, the book was gone. Without a trace, Tara Gilsby and her accomplice Raven, Bloody Wrists XXXX666, whatever, she had disappeared. And it had all been gone. Was it all a dream? And what had ended up happening was the book had been deleted from fanfiction.net because the moderators had seen that it was breaking a lot of the guidelines for the actual site, because there were a lot of mentions of self-harm and things like that. A couple of months after it had disappeared, a sequel appeared entitled My Immortal 2, Wake Me Up Inside, but the author later confirmed that it was just a troll and that they weren't actually Tara or Raven. And that was seemingly the end of My Immortal. This story that we had come to hate, this story that was infamous on fanfiction.net for being the worst fanfiction of all time, it was over. Or is it? But we're not quite there yet. Most of our cast of characters from the Harry Potter universe, their name is changed to be more gothic, so let us read our cast list. We can't call Hermione Hermione in this book because that is far too much of a preppy name. So in this book, her name is Bloody Mary Smith. That is not a joke. Our beloved Harry Potter is not called Harry Potter. He is simply referred to as vampire, because in this story he is a vampire. And finally we have Ron Weasley, which unfortunately he's barely in the story. I think in passing he gets like 1 mention, but he is called Diablo. But before we get started, there's just something I gotta grab real quick. I already regret it. So the story opens up on chapter 1 with an author's note. I would like to note that every chapter opens with some sort of author note. So the author's note here says, special thanks, and then in parentheses says, get it? Cause I'm gothic. To my GF, ew, not in that way, Raven, Bloody Tears 666, for helping me with the story and spelling. So we get our first mention of Raven. Love her. Hi, my name is Ebony Darkness Dimension Raven Way, and I have long ebony black hair. That's how I got my name, with purple streaks and red tips that reaches my mid-back, and icy blue eyes with limpid tears. That's a lot. We're gonna skip that. I'm 17. I'm goth, in case you couldn't tell, and I wear mostly black. I love Hot Topic and I buy all my clothes from there. She talks about her clothes a lot. I'm gonna skip over it just because it's really redundant. You just know that she's wearing a corset in black. I was walking outside of Hogwarts. It was snowing and raining, so there was no sun, which I was very happy about. A lot of preps stare at me. I put up my middle finger at them. Hey, Ebony, shouted a voice. I looked up. It was Draco Malfoy. What's up, Draco? I asked. Nothing, he said shyly. But then I heard my friends call me, and I had to go away. Author's note. Is it good? Please tell me. Fangs. That was chapter 1. The next day I woke up in my bedroom. It was snowing and raining again. I opened the door to my coffin and drank some blood from a bottle I had. My coffin was black ebony, and inside it was a hot pink velvet and black lace at the ends. Very 2006, if I do say so myself. My friend Willow, author's note, Raven, this is you. So Willow is a fan fiction self-inserted version of her friend Raven. My friend Willow woke up and then grinned at me. She flipped her long waist-length raven black hair with pink streaks and opened her forest green eyes. That's a mouthful of description right there. We put on our makeup, black lipstick, white foundation, black eyeliner. OMG, I saw you talking to Draco Malfoy yesterday, she said excitedly. Yeah, so, I said, blushing. Do you like Draco, she asked. No, I don't, I shouted. Yeah, right, she exclaimed. Just then, Draco walked up to me. It's good timing, right? Hi, he said. "Hi," I replied flirtily. "Good Charlotte is having a concert in Hogsmeade," he told me. "Oh my god," I screamed. "I love Good Charlotte. They're my favorite band, besides My Chemical Romance." "Well, do you want to go with me?" he asked. I gasped. And that's the end of chapter 2. What a cliffhanger. Stop flaming my story, preps, okay? Thanks to the Gothic people for the good reviews. Thanks again, Raven. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't own this or the lyrics to Good Charlotte. She doesn't? I went outside. Draco was waiting there in front of his flying car. He was wearing a simple plain t-shirt, baggy black skater pants, black nail polish, and a little eyeliner. Author's note. A lot of cool boys wear it, okay? Thanks for that update. "Hi, Draco," I said in a depressed voice. "Hi, Ebony," he said back. We walked back to his flying black Mercedes-Benz. The license plate said 666, because they're Satanists. On the way, we listened excitedly to Good Charlotte and Marilyn Manson. We both smoked cigarettes and drugs. When we got there, we both hopped out of the car. We went to the mosh pit at the front of the stage and jumped up and down as we listened to Good Charlotte. You come in cold, you're covered in blood. I think that's a Good Charlotte song. I'm not familiar. Should we pull up the song?
You come in cold, you're covered in blood.
Okay. In parentheses after it says, "I don't own the lyrics to that song." In case you were mistaken. In case you thought that she'd come up with those lyrics. Really, she gave credit. "Joel is so hot," I said to Draco, pointing to him as he sung, filled the club with his amazing voice. Suddenly, Draco looked sad. "What's wrong?" I asked him as we moshed to the music. Then I caught on. "Hey, it's okay. I don't like him better than you," I said. "Really?" said Draco sensitively. Then he put his arms around me all protective. "Really," I said. "Besides, I don't even know Joel, and he's going out with Hilary Duff." I guess that was a thing in 2006, but it's just funny to read about it now. "I hate that girl," I said disgustedly, thinking of her ugly blonde face. Just really passive-aggressive towards Hilary Duff. The night went on really well, and I had a great time. So did Draco. After the concert, we drank some beer and asked Benji and Joel for their autographs. I assume those are band members, but I'm not super up-to-date on my 2006 and 2007 bands. Especially like punk rock emo bands. Just not really my genre, I don't think. Draco and I crawled back to the Mercedes Benz. They crawled? Why are they crawling? Oh, because they're drunk? Is he gonna drive drunk? But Draco didn't go back into Hogwarts. Instead, he drove the car into the Forbidden Forest. That's the end of chapter 3. Chapter 4, author's note. I said stop flaming, okay? Ebony's name is Ennaby, not Mary Sue, okay? Draco is so in love with her that he is acting different. They knew each other before, okay? Because obviously a lot of people were being like, this girl's a Mary Sue, this writing's bad. Stuff like that. Also, it is so hot in here and I'm just out here wearing a hat. And I'm too scared to open my window because what if people look? They just see me. It's just a sad sight. "What the heck do you think you're doing?" Draco didn't answer, but he stopped the flying car and he walked out of it. Were they flying or were they on the ground? Because they said he stopped the flying car, so I assume they're in there. Did he just like... Or what? Just dipped out of that car real quick. "Ebony?" he asked. "What?" I snapped. Draco leaned in extra close and I looked into his gothic red eyes. Author's note, he was wearing red color contacts. His eyes revealed so much depressing sorrow and evilness. And then suddenly I didn't feel mad anymore. How romantic. Draco climbed on top of me and we started to make out keenly against the tree. He took off my top and I took off his clothes. I even took off my bra. Then he put his thingy into my you-know-what and we did it for the first time. We started to kiss everywhere and my pale body became all warm and then... What the hell are you doing? It was Dumbledore! Oh, we got caught by Dumbledore in the Forbidden Forest. Chapter 5, author's note. Stop flaming. If you flame, it means you're a prep and a poser. The only reason Dumbledore swore... I took out the swearing because I'm not out here trying to get demonetized. The only reason Dumbledore swore is because he had a headache, okay? And on top of that, he was mad at them for having sex. P.S. I'm not updating until I get 5 good reviews. This is where the blackmailing begins. "You ludicrous fools!" he shouted. I started to cry tears of blood down my pallid face. I think they mean pale. Draco comforted me. When we went back to the castle, Dumbledore took us to Professor Snape and Professor McGonagall, who were both looking very angry. They were having sexual intercourse in the Forbidden Forest, he yelled in a furious voice. "Why did you do such a thing, you mediocre dunces?" asked Professor McGonagall. What? She would never say that, I don't think. "How dare you?" demanded Professor Snape. And then Draco shrieked, "Because I love her!" Everyone was quiet. Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall still looked mad, but Professor Snape said, "Fine, very well. You may go up to your rooms." They obviously hooked up and broke the rules and all of that. I feel like it's against Hogwarts rules, I don't really know. That's never something that's really discussed in the Harry Potter books. I just love how they're getting in trouble and they're like, "Why would you do this? This is against the rules." And then Draco's just like, "I love her." And they're like, "That's fine, I guess." I don't know why. I love that so much. So then they go back to their rooms and Draco was standing in front of the bathroom and he started to sing "I Just Wanna Live" by Good Charlotte. I was so flattered, even though he wasn't supposed to be here. We hugged and kissed. After that, we said goodnight and he reluctantly left. So basically, she went to her room in this fit of rage and then he just snuck into her room or something and then he started to sing to her to make it up to her. Let's listen to the song he sang. How romantic is that, right? Shut up, preps, okay? P.S. I will not update until you give me good reviews. Honestly, I felt that. She's in the Great Hall. She's eating some Count Chocula cereal with blood in it. It's tasty. He didn't have glasses anymore, and now he was wearing red contact lenses, just like Draco's. And there was no scar on his forehead anymore. He was so sexy that my body went all hot when I saw him. Kind of like an erection. "Only I'm a girl, so I don't get one, you sicko." This is probably my favorite line in the whole book. Like, you brought it up and then you got mad at me for saying it, but you said it. "What's your name?" I questioned. "My name's Harry Potter, although most people call me Vampire these days," he grumbled. "Why?" I exclaimed. "Because I love the taste of human blood," he giggled. "Well, I am a vampire," I confessed. "Really?" he whimpered. "Yeah," I roared. What is up with these character narrations? We sat down to talk for a while. Then Draco came up behind me and told me he had a surprise for me, so I went away with him. And that's the end of chapter 6. Just really ended on an exciting note. Also, I just remembered that I made a fake nose ring for this video so I could wear it, but I forgot that I had it, and I feel like it's too late to add the joke, so I guess I'll just put it in for a second so we can laugh. Ha ha ha, I'm edgy. So chapter 7 is entitled Bring Me to Life, and it also starts with an author's note because obviously they all have to start with an author's note. Well, okay you guys, I'm only writing this because I got 5 god reviews. And by the way, I won't write the next chapter till I get 10 good ones. Stop flaming or I'll report you. Evony is in a Mary Sue, okay? She isn't perfect. She's a Satanist. And she has problems. She's depressed, for God's sake. Draco and I held our pale white hands with black nail polish as we went upstairs. I was wearing red Satanist sings on my nails in red polish. I don't really know what she's trying to say there, and I won't try to figure it out either. After that, the author's note says, "Does that sound like a Mary Sue to you?" It's very passive aggressive. But then again, at this point she's getting like hundreds of hate comments, so I feel like rightfully so. I waved to Vampire. Dark misery was in his depressed eyes. I guess he was jealous of me that I was going out with Draco. Anyway, I went upstairs excitedly with Draco. We went into his room and then locked the door. Then, we started Frenching passively, which I love that because I feel like they meant to say passionately, but they said passively. So instead of like making out, you know, she's just like, you know, just goldfishing her way through that makeout. We took off each other's clothes enthusiastically. He felt me up before I took off my top. We went on the bed and started making out naked. Then he put his boy's thingy in mine and we, in all caps, had sex. And then in parentheses it says, "Is that stupid?" So they finish up that activity and then she notices a tattoo on Draco's arm. It was a black heart with an arrow through it. On it, in bloody gothic writing, were the words, "Vampire!" I was so angry. "No, you don't understand," Draco pleaded, but I knew too much. A little problematic here, she says, "You probably have AIDS anyway." It was 2006, but like still, you know what I mean? I put on my clothes all huffily and then stomped out. Draco ran out, even though he was naked. He had a really big, you know what, but I was too mad to care. As if they hadn't already like had sex. She just never noticed, I guess. I stomped out and did so until I was in Vampire's classroom, where he was having a lesson with Professor Snape. She's gonna try to fight Vampire in his potions classroom. Draco just runs in naked after her. Ebony, it's not what you think, Draco screamed sadly. My friend Bloody Mary Smith smiled at me understandably. This is Hermione, by the way, and we get some of her backstory. She says, Hermione was kidnapped when she was born. Her real parents are vampires, and one of them is a witch. But Voldemort killed her mother and her father. She still has nightmares about it, and she's very haunted and depressed. It also turns out her real last name is Smith and not Granger. Since she had converted to Satanism, she is in Slytherin now. Vampire, I can't believe you cheated on me with Draco, I shouted. Everyone gasped. And then it gets really weird because this whole story has been told in Ebony's POV, right? And then randomly in the middle of this chapter we get like one paragraph from Draco's POV, completely isolated from the rest of the story too, because instead of it being like Draco's POV, it's like Ebony and then there's one paragraph of Draco and then we just move back to Ebony. It's really confusing. So this is in Draco's POV. I don't know why Ebony was so mad at me. I had went out with Vampire for a while, but then he broke my heart. He dumped me because he liked Brittany, a stupid preppy girl. I'm bi and so is Ebony. We were just good friends now. He had gone through horrible problems and now he was gothic. Haha, like I would hang out with a prep. It's really good. But I'm not going out with Draco anymore, said Vampire. Yeah, right, I screamed. I ran out of the room and into the Forbidden Forest where I had lost my fertility. And then I started to bust into tears. That's the end of that chapter. Author's note. Stop flaming, okay? I didn't read the books. This is from the movie, okay? It's not my fault if Dumbledore swears. Besides, I said he had a headache. Jeez, guys, yeah, Dumbledore said the F word, but he had a headache. It's not out of character. Jeez. Anyways, chapter 9, let's do it. I was so mad and sad. I couldn't believe Draco for cheating on me. I began to cry against the tree where I did it with Draco. Then all of a suddenly, an horrible man with red eyes and no nose and everything started flying towards me on a broomstick. He didn't have a nose. And it was obvious he wasn't gothic. It was Voldemort! No, I shouted in a scared voice, but then Voldemort shouted, Imperious! And I couldn't run away. Crookshanks, I shouted it. Why did she say that? Did she think that was a spell? That's Hermione's cat. I mean to say Bloody Mary Smith's cat. Ebony, he shouted, Thou must kill Vampire Potter. I thought about Vampire and his sexy eyes and his gothic black hair and how he looks just like Joel Madden. Why is that a thing for this book? Like, can you imagine, like, she's being attacked by the actual Dark Lord and she's like, Vampire looks just like Joel Madden. I don't even know who that is. I assume it's some weird band member. No, Voldemort, I shouted back. Voldemort gave me a gun. No, please, I begged. Thou must, he yelled. If thou does not, then I shall kill thy beloved Draco. How did you know? I asked in a surprised way. I hath telekinesis, he answered cruelly. And if you doth not kill the vampire, then thou know what will happen to Draco, he shouted. Then he flew away angrily on his broomstick. Why does he talk like Shakespeare? I was so scared and mad that I didn't know what to do. Suddenly Draco came into the woods. I'm sorry I got all mad at you, but I thought you cheated on me. That's okay, he said, all depressed. And then we went back to Hogwarts together, making out. So are they like making out on their way? Are they just like walking and making out? Or do they stop periodically to make out? I'm unsure. Chapter 10 is where things start to get a little bit weird. I know that things have been really weird and cringy up until this point, but I feel like this is where things start to get just completely off track. Any sense of narrative is out the window, and it's really hard to follow, which is why I've read this book 4 times, by the way. So we find out at the beginning of this chapter, our squad is a part of a band called Bloody Gothic Rose 666. And Ebony is the lead singer, apparently. I guess they're just at their practice. Like after she gets attacked by Voldemort and he gives her a gun and is like, you killed Vampire Potter for me, for no reason. She just is fine now and going to band practice. We were singing a cover of Helena And at the end of the song, I burst into tears. Ebony, are you okay? Bloody Mary asked in a concerned voice. What do you think? I asked angrily, and then I said, well, Voldemort came and he told me to kill Harry, and I don't want to kill him because he's really nice. Even if he did go out with Draco, but if I don't kill Harry, then Voldemort will kill Draco. Ugh, this sucks. And then Draco bursts in at this very second. Why didn't you tell me? He shouted. How could you? You poser! And then in parentheses she says, is that out of character? And then he runs out of the room crying because she didn't tell him apparently. And this is where things start to get a little bit, you know what I mean. They continue to practice for their band. It's been about an hour. Then Dumbledore walks in angrily. His eyes were all fiery, and I knew this time it wasn't because he had a headache. Honestly, my favorite character in this book is probably Dumbledore's headache. What have you done? He started to cry wisely. How do you do that? I don't know. Ebony, Draco has been found in his room. So I just realized that if I actually put this part in the video, it will for sure get demonetized, and you know me, I'm a money-hungry snake, so I'm just gonna say it now, but Draco is no longer with us. He is dead, and he did it by himself. And I feel like there's a word for that, but I feel like if I use that word, the video will be demonetized. In this chapter, we find out that Draco is alive and that he's been captured by Voldemort, and it was all an elaborate scheme. Doesn't really make sense. It's just hard to figure out what Voldemort's goal is. They find out that Draco has been captured, so they're gonna do the responsible thing for the first time ever, and they're gonna tell Dumbledore about it. So they run in, Dumbledore, what is it that you need now, you despicable snobs? That's definitely in character, but I guess he has a headache. Voldemort has Draco, we shouted. He laughed in an evil voice. No, I don't give a darn about what Voldemort does to Draco. He took out his wand and did a spell. Then suddenly, we were in Voldemort's lair. Okay. We ran in with our wands out and just heard a croon voice said, Alla Kadavra. It was Voldemort. Oh. Scary. We ran in where Voldemort was. It turned out that Voldemort wasn't there. Instead, the fat guy that killed Cedric was. So she's talking about Peter Pettigrew. Draco was there crying, tears of blood. Snaketail was torturing him. It's Wormtail, but Snaketail sounds fine by me, I guess. Snaketail, which isn't a character in any of the books, he says that he loves Ebony, and except it says Enemy, and he wants to have sex with her. Then I stabbed him in the heart. Blood poured out of it like a fountain. She didn't even say him, she said it. She's just such a bad girl. No! He screamed. He started screaming and running around. Then he fell down and died. I burst into tears. Why is she sad? Did she want to have sex with him? Snaketail, what art thou doing? Called Voldemort. Then he started coming. We could hear his high heels clacking to us. Why is he wearing high heels? Honestly, I'm not surprised. So they grab Draco, and then they hop on their broomsticks, and then they fly back to Hogwarts. We went to my room, then I started crying. What's wrong, honey? Asked Draco, taking off his clothes so we could screw. Way to set the mood, she's crying. It's ugly love all over again. He had a sex pack. Get it? Cause he's so sexy? It's so unfair, I cried. Why can't I just be ugly or plain like the other girls? Everyone is in love with me. Hagrid says he's in love with me, which I skipped all over this cause it's stupid. Vampire likes me, and now even Snaketail is in love with me. I just want to be with you, okay, Draco? Why couldn't Satan have made me less beautiful? I'm good at too many things. Why can't I just be normal? It's a curse, I shouted, and then I ran away. And that's the end of chapter 14. And then Draco comes into her room singing The Chronicles of Life and Death by Good Charlotte, and it's just gonna bring them back together. This romance is just gonna be saved. And then she says, we consider it our song now because we fell in love when Joel was singing it. I love you, I said, and then we started to kiss, just like Hilary Duff. I hate her. In the Cinderella story. That's all that's good for this chapter. Let's skip the rest. So in chapter 16, it's when things start to get really funny. Every chapter leading up to this chapter, we've had a thank you to Raven, who is the friend of Tara. But this time, we open up to quite the plot twist. Some of this isn't even in readable English. It says, you know what? Shut up! Prove to me you're not preps! Raven, you suck! Give me back my tweet or suspita to write this. What? I don't know. They obviously had a falling out, and it's hard to figure out why. And then she says, Raven, you're supposed to do this. By the way, thanks to Brittany5655 for teaching me Japanese. She just called Raven out, and I didn't even say most of it, mostly because I'm money hungry, and if this video gets demonetized, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Okay, so unfortunately at this part of the video, it randomly cut off, and I embarrassingly didn't notice for quite a long time. But this part is far too good to just pass up without any further explanation, so I will read it for you now. As we discussed earlier, there is a character that is based off of her friend Raven, and since in this chapter they are randomly fighting for some reason, Willow is essentially just written out of the story in a very subtle way. And by subtle, I mean not at all. By the way, Willow, that poser, got expelled. She failed all her classes and she skipped math. Author's note. Raven, you suck! Alright, so chapter 17, to catch you up with some of the stuff that's going on, they're going to a concert now. That's literally all you need to know. The rest of it is just misspelled, honestly. We moshed to Helena and some other songs. Suddenly, Gerard pulled off his mask, and so did the other members. I gasped. It wasn't Gerard at all. It was an ugly, preppy man with no nose and red eyes. It was Voldemort and the Death Dealers. My favorite characters in the Harry Potter world. Suddenly, a gothic old man flew on his broomstick. He had long black hair and a long black beard. He was wearing a black robe that said Avril Lavigne on the back. He shouted a spell and Voldemort ran away. It was Dumbledore! And we find out that all this time, Dumbledore has stumbled upon goth culture. He's dyed his hair black. He's just fermented his beard to be black. And he's wearing black clothes with lace on it, and he's just gothic now. That's probably the best part of this whole book. And also, we're getting to the point where nothing happens for a long time, and it's just like no good jokes for me to pull out, and I just feel like it would just water down this whole video, so I'm gonna skip most of that. And also, Raven and Tara are back together at this point. They had a big falling out, and now they're friends again, so that was really exciting, but it honestly ended pretty boringly. Our squad walks into the Great Hall and they see Cornelia Fudged, my favorite character from the Harry Potter universe, and he is yelling at Dumbledore. And Doris Rumbridge is also there. This cannot be, she shouted angrily. This school must be closed. The Bark Lord is planning to kill the students, yelled Cornelia. You are not fit to be the principal any longer, yelled Rumbridge. You are too old, and your Alzheimer's is dangerous. You must retry, or Voldemort will kill your students. Very well, Dumbledore said angrily, but we cannot do this. We cannot close the school. There is only one person who is capable of killing Voldemort, and she was in the school, and her name is Enoni Darkness Dementia Ravenway. And they all gasp. She's the chosen one! So in this next chapter, Voldemort sends her a vision, basically telling her that she failed her mission of killing Vampire, and now he's gonna kill Draco, basically. There's a weird character named Professor Sinister. I don't know who that's supposed to be, and I'm not gonna try to guess. Professor Sinister says, Tara, it's not even Ebony anymore, it's just Tara, the name of the author. I see dark times are near. You must go back in time. She took out a time toner, like Bloody Mary had. When Voldemort was in Hogwarts before he came powerful, he got his heart broken. Do you think he would still become Voldemort if he was in love? I shook my head. You must go back in time and seduce him. It is the only way. If he is still evil, then you must kill him. So the plan is that Ebony needs to go back in time, seduce the Dark Lord so that he won't become the Dark Lord. She also mentions, like, if it doesn't work, then you just have to kill him. Why don't we just kill him now? Why do we gotta go back in time and do all that weird stuff? Okay, so now Ebony is ready to go on her journey back into the past. It's kind of weird. Instead of it being like a time turner normally is, where you go back and then you just meet back up with the present, I think since she's going so far back that she can go into the past but then come back into the present, and she's gonna go several times. And they said it's gonna take a couple of sessions so they'll fall in love and he won't be bad or something. It's a little bit confusing. Then she and Bloody Mary put a pensieve in front of me. Everyone everyone went in front of it. Good luck, everyone shooted. I jumped sexily into the pensieve. Okay, whatever you say, I jumped sexily into the pensieve. Suddenly, I was in front of the school. In front of me was one of the sexiest goth guys I have ever seen. He was wearing long black hair. He was wearing a black ripped up suit with Vans. It was Tom Bombadil, my favorite character from the Harry Potter series. The name's Tom, he said, but you can call me Satan. That's my middle name. Well, come on, we have to go upstairs, Satan said. Hey Satan, do you happen to be a fan of Green Day? I think they mean Green Day. Is that a band? I don't know. And apparently they're gonna be playing in Hogsmeade, but this part says, guess what? They had a concert in Hogsmeade, Satan whispered. Hogsmeade? I asked. That's what they used to call it in the times before it was Hogsmeade in 2000, which is just weird. Why would he know that they changed it if they're in the past? And there's a really cool shop called Hot Topic. I finished happy again. He frowned, confused. No, it's called Hot Issue. Then in 1998 they changed it to Hot Topic. He moaned. Why? Okay, whatever you want to do, Tom Bodil. Then Dumbledore walks down the hall and he says, no tucking in the halls, stupid goths. And then Satan rolls his eyes. He's so mean to us goths and punks just because we're in Slytherin and we're not preps. Actually, I think maybe it's because you're the Dark Lord, she says. What? He said angrily. Oh, nothing, I said sweetly. Just really blew her cover there. So then she arrives back into the present. How did it go, Ebony? He asked in a voice that was so sexy. Fine, I responded. How far did you go with Satan? Draco asked jealously. Not too far. LOL, I borked. Satan and I walked to his car. It was a black car with pentagrams all over it, and the license plate said 666, just like Draco's car. Wow. Did they like go to the DMV and like request a special plate? How did that go about? Not gonna think about it. So I would try to catch you up with what's going on, but honestly, I'm not even joking when I say at this point the book is literally incoherent. Like every word is misspelled, basically. It's super hard to figure out what's being said, and it just gets really frustrating at that point, and honestly I just don't want to read it. I don't want to try to read it, and it doesn't really add that much to the story. So they're like fighting, and Slughorn is called Slugborn, and Satan is here. It's like when all the plot converges, but it's very weird. She calls Lupin Lumpkin, like pumpkin with an L at the front of it. So it's like a big battle, and here's the end of this book, I guess. Accio Neville's wand, cried Voldemort, and suddenly Neville's wand was in his hand. Now I shall kill thee, and Ebony, you will die. He made lightning come out all over the place. Save us, Ebony, Dumbledore cried. I cried sexily. I just want to go to the common room and watch Shark Attack 3 and do it with Draco, but I knew I had to do something more important. Abracadabra! I shoot it, and that's literally the end of the book. And then it was never updated because at this point it was wiped from the sites and it was never continued. Thank God. So I hate to be a snake, and I hate to leave things out of the greater narrative of a book, but during the beginning of this video I lied to you. I said that it was the end of My Immortal. There is a lot more that we need to talk about. Over the years following the publication, but also the deletion of My Immortal, it became very wide speculation over if the author had written it as an elaborate joke, but there was also this other camp that genuinely saw this as an effort of this young girl, Tara, and her friend. And over the years, it was just debate over which one it was. And there's also a lot of debate over who the author was, because the years following the release of the book, tons of people stepped forward and were like, I wrote the book and stuff like that, but then those posts would be fake, or they wouldn't have access to the original account, or there was no proof behind any of it, and oftentimes people would prove them to be wrong, and then they would just end up deleting their claim that it was them. This happened so many times where people just became numb to the idea. A lot of people thought we would never find out who wrote this book. We will never find out if it was real or not. It was just gonna be an unsolved mystery for the rest of eternity. Until one day, seemingly, that wasn't the case anymore. 2 years ago, in 2017, this woman steps forward on her Tumblr account, and she very casually mentions that she wrote My Immortal. This woman, Rose Christo, comes forward on her Tumblr account and she begins to talk about her experience writing it. She says she was like 16 when she started to write it. She says she wrote it with her friend Raven. She also revealed that she had a crush on Raven and that part of the gothicness of the story was because she was trying to suck up to Raven and wanted to like be on her good side, which like honestly I ship it. Some further information about Rose Christo was that she had published several other young adult novels, not like well-known things that a lot of people would have known about, mostly like smaller indie projects. Somehow she got outed for being the My Immortal author in all of this, and she began to talk about it very openly on her Tumblr account. But since so many people beforehand had come forward and said that they had written it, a lot of people thought that it was just her trying to get her name out there further, or they thought it was her trying to get people to buy her other books or something like that. Until Rose Christo had some of the login credentials for the My Immortal account. I'm not entirely sure if she had it to the original account or maybe Raven's account, because the authors of the story, they used several different accounts, and I don't really know the whole story behind that, but it said in a lot of wikis that they had like several different accounts, and it wasn't sure who had access to those accounts because they would refer to each other as different usernames a lot of times and change usernames or would switch accounts, so it was pretty confusing to follow. So she had these login credentials, which sort of proves that she was somehow affiliated with it. She might have been Raven. She also had a flash drive with several of the chapters of My Immortal saved onto it with the actual dates that it was written and posted and stuff like that. And so Rose Christo comes forward and she says all this stuff, and people are beginning to believe that it's her, which it makes a little bit of sense because, you know, she has this flash drive, she has login credentials to this account, she's also been a writer for several years at this point, which makes sense if she wrote this other book a couple years back. People just began to widely understand that this woman wrote My Immortal. The mystery is solved. It was so exciting and it felt like the end of this unsolved mystery. And so during this time, Christo confirmed that it was all an elaborate troll, that growing up, she and her friends and her siblings and stuff, they loved to make fun of really bad fan fictions on fanfiction.net, and she penned this fan fiction knowing that it would make people mad, knowing that it would become a big meme, and that was the point of it. She mentioned that she was Native American, that she was Cree, that she was a lesbian, and that she had been in the foster care system growing up, and that her and her brother had been separated, and that she was trying to reach out to him. We never really find out who Raven is either, which is unfortunate, just because like I don't know why, but I have a connection with her, I think. I love her. I would die for her, not really. Because of this, and also because of her upbringing and some of the stories that she had growing up, Rose Christo was given a deal by Macmillan to publish a memoir that was going to be entitled Under the Same Stars. It was slated to be released around like 2017, 2018-ish. People are beginning to talk about My Immortal again and how it had been 10 years and this girl stepped forward and things were starting to make sense. It was all an elaborate joke. And this is all happening in the summer of 2017, more towards August when all of this stuff starts to come out. And I don't know if you remember August 2017, particularly the New York Times bestseller list in 2017, particularly a mysterious book that appeared at the top of the list for 23 hours and then disappeared. Yeah, I know, right? People begin to think that Handbook for Mortals was written by the author of My Immortal. I mean, it makes sense. The word mortal is in both of the books. The writing is really cheesy. Obviously the writing in this is a bit more polished and a bit more professional, which makes sense. I mean, it's been 10 years. There's a lot of mentions of bands in My Immortal, as well as Handbook for Mortals. There's literally an entire plot line where the main character falls in love with a band member who is a real band member in a real band, the Plain White T's. That was quickly debunked because Rose Christo was like, LOL. And that was sort of the end of it, unfortunately. And although I desperately wish that this was her, and I desperately wish that this chick wrote 2 bad books, ones that are infamous in the writing world forever, unfortunately, it's very unlikely. But Rose Christo confirms, like, no, it was me, unfortunately, and Lainey Sarum was let off the hook, very much to my dismay. But during this, another mysterious figure appears claiming to be the brother of Rose Christo, and he starts to go off and being like, this chick is lying in this memoir. All this stuff she told you is fake, by the way. This chick isn't even Native American. She's white. When she was showing these documents to Macmillan to get her book published, they're like, these are literally fake. All this identification she's giving you isn't real. This whole narrative about her life is fake. She's grown up with her grandma. She's not even in the foster care system. She lied about everything. And you might be like, Caleb, there seems to be a lot of trolls that seem to appear. I mean, the hacker that we talked about earlier, the other people that stepped forward and claimed that it was them. The thing about this person that says to be her brother, there was a Facebook account that was linked to him, which was seemingly real, and he claimed that her name wasn't actually Rose Christo, and that her true identity was, and I'm gonna be pulling out my laptop here because it is in fact a mouthful, Teresa Rose Christodouloupolis, or something to that effect. And he's like, she's using a pseudonym. She forged these fake documents to say that her name is Rose Christo. It's all fake, and she's been lying about her life and her narrative. And subsequently, her memoir gets canceled by Macmillan, and Rose Christo just sort of dips out. She's gone. Thanks for watching, guys. Just kidding. There's a lot more, but what the frick? So now that there's a small web of lies, there are so many things that we sort of just accepted as the truth that now I think we need to question. She had access to that account, but that account was only linked to the main account. What if she was just some random girl that happened to be friends with the author or something like that? What if she wasn't actually the writer? What if she was Raven? And what about the flash drive? Just because she had the chapters that were specifically dated and saved around the time of the release of those chapters, what if this chick is just one of the haters? What if she was one of the people that saved these chapters whenever they were uploaded? Because when you think about it, even though the book got deleted, there are full versions posted so many times on all these different sites, on fanfiction.net, on Wattpad, on wherever the frick else. What says she isn't one of those people that just saved the book whenever it was updated? What says that she had any affiliation with the writing process at all? What says that this chick, whose name is really hard to say, I think it's Christodouloupolis, but again, I don't know because that sounds like the Hopalopagus or whatever the frick from Winnie the Pooh. How am I supposed to know if I can trust any of this information? Seemingly, all the things that were making sense no longer make sense. Rose Christo just sort of dipped out once her real name was released. This was all at the end of 2017 when all this stuff started to happen. It's been a year and a half and we have no further information. The memoir got canceled. Rose Christo deleted her Tumblr account. It's all gone. Everything's gone. Everything that made some sort of sense is seemingly out the window. Anything that we could have trusted for fact seems to be no longer true. So what does this mean for the identity of the author? I feel like I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. I feel like the fact that she deleted her social media presence says a lot to the situation. Maybe it was because she was so embarrassed about lying about her life. Maybe that was the only thing she lied about. Is it all an elaborate hoax? Because if she made a couple of lies, what if she had just said that it was all a joke in the first place because she was genuinely embarrassed about what she had written when she was a teenager? So where do we go from here? What do we do? Is it Christodouloupolis, or did she fabricate this whole fake life of herself? Is it her at all? Is she Raven? Who is Raven? Why did she fight with Raven in that chapter? What did Raven do? Where is Raven today? Is her real name Raven? What happened to Tara? Is Tara a real name? Who's Rose Christo? Why did she forge those documents? Why did she lie about her life? Is the brother real? If he wasn't, why did she delete her online presence? Is this book all a prank, or is it an actual attempt by this teenager? Was it all a lie so people would read the memoir? Will we ever learn the truth? So you might ask me what my thoughts are on all of this, and even though I feel lost, and even though I feel betrayed and confused about all of this information, I think that it was all a troll. Regardless if it was Rose Christo, regardless if her real identity is Teresa Rose Christodouloupolis or whatever the frick, regardless of any of that, whoever wrote this book, I think it was all a troll. I mean, I sexily jumped into the pensieve? Are you kidding me? There is no way that that is not a joke. And I mean, there's also a chance that maybe it did start out as a genuine attempt, because I'd say the first 2-3 chapters, they make the most sense, and there's definitely a narrative to the story. The writing is probably the best in those chapters. But then it just reaches a point where it becomes almost a parody of itself. The subtle grammar mistakes or the subtle misspellings of a couple of words becomes, you know, turned up to an 11 at some point. It all seems very dramatic, but I don't know. And that's the thing about this story, is that even when we seemingly get all the answers, everything just goes down the garbage disposal, and all the information we thought we knew, maybe it's all fake. Will we ever learn the truth? Probably not, unfortunately. And one day when I die, and I'm standing before Jesus in heaven, I will ask one question. And for a long time that one question was going to be, did OJ do it? Because that is another question that I just think about all the time. But I think now I will ask, who wrote this book? Jesus, was it all a hoax or was it real? Tell me everything. And I just hope that in that moment, Jesus walks up, he puts his hand on my face, and he says, Caleb, it was you all along. Lipstick feels disgusting. It's like in my mouth, and like every time I would like wipe, it would just be all over my hands, and I've wiped it on my pants and they are embarrassingly stained. As for my thoughts about who wrote this book, I just desperately hope that it's Lainey Sarum.